Hi everyone, it's Friday, the end of the working week. I'm smiling, you should be too, because we've got another jam-packed video for you today. We're going back to the roundup. We've got a roundup of the latest news at Celtic, both transfer news and not transfer news. We've got insight on Johnny Kenny, the young Irish striker who is set to move to Celtic, and we've got a wee preview for a tasty video that is coming this weekend. So much to get through. And to help me through this video, well, the roundup part of it at least, I think we need to bring back a trusty friend. There we go, the ticker is back, hope you're enjoying that. And we're going to get into what's happening with regards to Celtic. Now, first of all, the kind of big story that people are chatting about today, and it's been rumbling on for a good few weeks now and will continue to rumble on, almost the elephant in the room, or whatever the Japanese equivalent of that is. I'm sure they've got a phrase for that. These Japan fixtures that are coming up when Celtic are going to lose players while we are meant to be playing important domestic matches. A wee crash course for you with a little update. Japan were due to face Uzbekistan in a warm-up friendly ahead of playing China and Saudi Arabia in crucial World Cup qualifiers. It has now been cancelled because Uzbekistan couldn't get their players into the country for a friendly match. Celtic's players, the contingent of Japanese players, weren't due to play in this match anyway. Maeda, Hatate had originally been called up, but when they moved to Celtic, they were no longer eligible due to the match falling outside of a FIFA window. But the following two qualifiers, as I say, against China and Saudi Arabia, are a very different story. As you can see there, the current group table is at a very critical stage, and with only the top two qualifying automatically for the World Cup and 4 matches to go, Japan can't really afford to drop any more points. So they will name their best squad for the double header of competitive matches in January and on the 1st of February, citing high public interest for getting the players into the country. Now, a lot of outlets reporting that Celtic's quartet of Japanese players will all be called up. I'm not an expert on Japanese football, but I do think it's a little bit of lazy journalism. Kyogo will be called up barring injury. Dyson and Rayo will also be called up, you would expect, given that they were both called up in the most recent Japan squad back in November. However, Gucci wasn't in that squad and hasn't actually played for Japan since late 2019. So it seems like Gucci will be unaffected regardless. He'll continue playing for Celtic unless his move to us has improved his reckoning on the international scene. Now, the Japan fixtures probably mean that the players affected, so Dyson, Rayo and Kyogo, as well as Tom Rogic from Australia, would miss our away game to Hearts, our home game against Dundee United, and of course the derby against Rangers on the 2nd of February. However, the next wee sting in the tail, just to add a little bit more room for discussion, the SPFL's rules and section G7 states a club shall be entitled to apply to the board for the postponement of any official match where 3 or more of its players who would otherwise have participated in such match are unavailable through international selection. And following receipt of such an application, the board may postpone and rearrange the relevant official match. That is just a very long way of saying that if you have 3 first-team players unavailable for a competitive match because they're playing international football, you can request a postponement. As we say, Celtic are probably likely to have 4, Hatate, Maeda, Kyogo and Rogic, so we could apply to have the game postponed. I think we'd be daft not to, given that Kyogo and Rogic especially are probably our 2 best attacking players. Whether we'd have to request a postponement for both the Hearts and the Dundee United games as well is unclear, and trying to fit in 3 matches in our hectic calendar before the split would be a pretty impossible task. I was just looking at Celtic's schedule once we return to competitive games, and we don't really have any free midweeks at all. And if we get past Bodo Glimt, that's going to be another couple of midweeks that are taken up by matches as well. So there's really not a lot of time for us to reschedule these games. For that reason, I think we probably have to come to terms with the fact that we might not be granted this postponement if we even apply for it. And there's probably a fair chance that we're going to be missing the likes of Kyogo, Maeda, Hatate and Rogic for the derby against Rangers. And let's not forget games against Dundee United and at Tynecastle against Hearts, which is obviously one of the tougher games in the league as well. This is quite a confusing story already, and when you add in the language barrier between here and Japan, it becomes even more difficult to work out exactly what's happening. But I thought we'd bring you up to speed with what's happening there. As I say, my kind of conclusion is that these Japanese players and Tom Rogic are going to play in these matches. They are crucial qualifiers for their country. There's not a chance their countries are going to play these matches without these players, even if it means that they have to play games outside of said country. Australia have been playing matches outside Australia for quite a while now, and I wouldn't be surprised if Japan do the same, just so they can get the likes of Kyogo, the likes of Minamino, who plays down south as well. The vast majority of their best players play in Europe. Maya Yoshida's an obvious example as well. I think he's playing in Italy. So I think we kind of have to come to terms with the fact that we might have to go into these crucial games, Hearts, Dundee United, Rangers, without some of our best players, which is obviously far from ideal. We'll try and keep you updated with any more developments in this, but it's one of those stories that you're going to hear more and more developments. Oh, Celtic could do this, Japan could do that, Kyogo could do this, Maeda could do that, and we're as well just seeing how it falls. Moving on, Liam Shaw, he won't be at Celtic for the rest of this season because he signed for Motherwell on loan. Graham Alexander confirmed that last night. Not actually had official confirmation from Motherwell at the time of me recording, but by the time you're watching this, there's probably a good chance that that one's gone through. Ismaila Soro could be heading to the MLS this month, with New York Red Bulls linked with him. Now, Red Bulls already have a plethora of former Celtic players. They've got Lewis Morgan, Patrick Klimala, Cameron Harper, even Andrew Gutman was there on loan for last season. It's like a mix match of dull Neil Lennon players they've got there, and Ismaila Soro, no disrespect, may be about to add to that as well. He does have 2.5 years left on his current Celtic deal, and we did pay £2 million for him, a couple of years ago. So you would hope Celtic would get a little bit of that back, especially if he's going to a club like New York Red Bulls that we do know have a little bit of cash. Elsewhere, Celtic have batted away some permanent interest in Osaze Urhoghide because they only want him to go out on loan this month. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up. And finally, Celtic B coach Darren O'Dea had been linked with the vacant job at my local team, Ayr United, but he won't be moving there after they announced the appointment of former Dunfermline defender/striker Lee Bullen. That's a blast from the past. He's been doing quite well at Sheffield Wednesday, I think, so a good appointment for Ayr United, but it won't be Darren O'Dea, so he'll continue with the Celtic B team. Okay, now I want to actually stick with the kind of Irish side of things and chat about Johnny Kenny, not John Joe Kenny. Calm down, don't chuck your phone away or shout at someone in your house. Johnny Kenny, he's an 18-year-old Sligo Rovers striker and he's set to join Celtic. A bit like Liam Shaw, this is one that's imminent. I don't think Celtic will make a huge song and dance about it because he's not likely to be a first team signing right away, but he will become our fourth signing of the month, probably joining the B team rather than the first team at the start. Now, some details on this. The Irish Independent are reporting that this deal is worth around €150,000. That's the release clause fee that he recently had put into his contract. There's also add-ons included in the deal, including appearance-related bonuses and a 10 to 15% sell-on fee for his next move. So if he was to make it at Celtic and go for 10 million, then Sligo had a 10% fee on that. Hang on. 1 million. 1 million is what they would get. We've been monitoring Kenny for months, apparently, and we beat Hibernian to his signature. Always nice to get another one over them. Earlier this week, our very own Ewan spoke to Andrew Dempsey from Pundit Arena and started by asking him what kind of player Kenny is.
Johnny Kenny he's a goal scorer mainly, and I suppose that's the biggest thing, because in this league we have a big problem with getting goal scorers, and a lot of the time the goal scorers that we do get end up going to bigger clubs away from home, and obviously Johnny Kenny is one that looks like he's going to be going away from home. So look even at looking at his stats this season, he got, God, was it 11 goals in 32 games? So look, he's had a great season. He scored in Europe against Stjarnan in the Conference League. Granted, Sligo didn't get through, but he's come out of nowhere really. I think at the start of the season he only signed his first professional contract for Sligo. So right. It's been a whirlwind 12 months for
him. I mean, yeah, obviously he's 18 years old. He's a new name to quite a lot of us. Although there's obviously been quite a lot of chat recently. I remember you sent me a message yesterday saying like you need to keep an eye on this, by the way. But were there other obviously Hibs were interested, but what was the kind of scope of interest in Johnny Kenny? Were there a lot of teams kind of chasing his signature? Because it looked like he was going to Hibs at one point.
Yeah, no. To be honest, the only one I really heard was Hibs and Celtic, and I think even before he signed the 3-year contract extension, he's obviously just in that now with Sligo. Celtic were mentioned before that, maybe not as much as they are now. But the problem there is that there's a 150 grand release clause there. So essentially, if a bigger club, quote / foreign club, wants to come in for him, they only have to pay 150 grand for him. And look, he's obviously taken the senior football quite well. So why not take a punt of 150 grand? Like it's a bit of a no-brainer, I think, from just looking at him, like seeing what he can do and what he's probably going to do in the future. It seems an absolute bargain.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great bit of business as far as I can tell. So let's get into the weeds a wee bit. What kind of striker is Johnny Kenny? And how would he fit into high pressing, defending from the front kind of side like Celtic are?
I suppose it's at Sligo, they kind of play an attractive brand of football. They do, like, granted, they do go direct when they want to, or when they have to, really. But most of the time, they do play decent football. Obviously, their manager Liam Buckley would be considered more of the, maybe one of the more expansive managers in the league. And it's obviously helped him. He's not afraid to, give youth their chance. He's not afraid to, throw people in. And obviously, Johnny Kenny is one of them. To be honest, Sligo, I wouldn't really associate them with being a massively high pressing side. But look, he is young. He's definitely got the legs on him. Like I don't know. I was even thinking about this yesterday. Like, do I see him going straight into Celtic's starting 11? Probably not.
No.
That's the big thing. Like, he probably will be better off staying at home, really. For maybe 1 or 2 more years. But you just can't say no to Celtic, can you?
I mean, you're asking a very, very biased individual on that, but that actually kind of covers my next question a bit. I mean, over here he's been talked as a definite kind of one for the future, probably fitting more into our B team in the immediate future, and then trying to make that breakthrough. But how, obviously he's had a year of senior football already. How quickly do you think he could develop into kind of the real deal, if you like?
Well, like, he's obviously shown that he can do it quite quickly, like, even like looking around the league at the minute, like there's a lot of players going from here to Scotland. Like, even look, Ross Tierney's gone from Bohemia. He's in Ireland under 21, gone to Motherwell. And to be honest, I can see him going into the first team there straight away. Granted, I know Celtic is a different level from Motherwell altogether, but look, it probably will take him a little bit of time, as we saw with Liam Scales. It took him a little bit of time to maybe find his feet a little bit, and look, obviously he did admit that it was a bit of a step up, but he obviously got used to the step up quite quickly. So look, it probably will take a bit of time. I don't know how I feel about him going into a B team either. I think that's that's, like, we see. I think the likes of Luke O'Connell, I think he went into the B team and it obviously isn't going too well for him. So I hope he just doesn't end up getting, swallowed in, under 23s football, reserve team football, because look, that's not what he needs at this age, I don't think.
Absolutely, and I think I would be able to understand if there were a lot of League of Ireland fans kind of annoyed at that. And I mean, honestly, I don't know what kind of plan we have for him, but in terms of the sort of technical kind of bits, like, is he good at kind of finding space? Does he create his own opportunities? Is he able to provide assists for our players? Like, what kind of striker are we looking at, really?
Well, I suppose firstly he comes from really good I suppose footballing stock as well. His father would have played for Sligo Rovers back in, I think, the maybe late 80s, 90s. He won an FAI Cup with Sligo in '94. So look, he has the, I suppose, the footballing stock, behind his name. And I suppose, look, that's one thing, isn't it? But realistic, looking at his goals this season, like he's really aware of chances, especially like if you look at his goal. I think when they played Bohemians earlier this year, I think it was, God, probably April, May. I don't expect you to all go watch the highlights, but like he did get, I think, well, he got two. He had a hat-trick, but one of the goals got taken off him. But each goal was basically his own doing of, being aware, being in the right place at the right time. And look, he's really smart. He's not your typical 18-year-old, striker that goes, just lashes onto long balls and maybe goes runs in like a bit of a, I don't know, like a Tony Watt kind of thing. But he's different. Like he's got that mentality. And look, even I remember actually speaking to Liam Buckley, his manager, earlier this year, and I briefly asked him about Johnny Kenny. And every time I've heard him speak about Johnny Kenny, every time he says is he's going to have a great career in this league and he'll probably go further. And look, he's probably going to go further now,
Mm-hmm. It's a really exciting move for him. I was wondering, maybe without being too broad about it, but it's obviously another case of Celtic tapping into that Irish market. But there seems to be like a real influx of talent in Ireland just now, especially at youth international level. I'm just thinking, like, I mean, we've got Bosun Lawal as well, who's maybe a really top player. I've seen him play a few times, and he's technically excellent. You've got Norwich City's Andrew. I'm just going to try and get the pronunciation right. Andrew. There you go. Yeah. You've got Gavin Bazunu of Manchester City, and of course, Liam Scales that's come to us as well. Has something changed? Has the FAI done something different in recent years? Because I mean, the level of technical ability of these players coming through is really it's impressive stuff. So, has anything changed in recent years, or is it just a particularly good crop of talent coming through?
Not necessarily, really. I think the big problem for Irish football at the minute is the whole Brexit stuff. Obviously, we can't send players over en masse to the UK as we would have before, maybe at 16, 17, and a lot of them are staying a bit longer. Like, I suppose the likes of, look, obviously the players that you mentioned there, like obviously Bosun and, like obviously, say Gavin Bazuna, granted he would have played senior football here for maybe 3 or 4 games, then he went over to England, but we were able to send players over to England, and we can't now. So I suppose that the onus is on Irish clubs now to get our own house in order. Look, the FAI's issues are well known at this stage. There's serious financial issues behind there. But, in terms of what the FAI have done, to be honest, they haven't done an awful lot. But in terms of, code, well, I don't know, maybe I'm being a bit harsh saying they haven't done an awful lot, but there is a massive focus on coaching in terms of, coaching development. And I suppose we're probably seeing that bear fruit now. Like, even if you look at the young managers coming through the league, and they're bound to have an effect on young players. And I suppose that's probably the biggest thing, really. And look, obviously the exposure to senior football earlier is obviously going to help. So, it looks like it's in a good place. Obviously you've got a manager who's not afraid to give young players their chance in Stephen Kenny. So, look, hopefully we're on the path to something, and hopefully we can get to a World Cup, because I'll be honest, I've never seen Ireland in a World Cup. So fingers crossed we can get there,
Well, maybe Kenny can lead you there one day, Andrew. That was Andrew Dempsey chatting to Ewan earlier in the week. A big thanks to Andrew for giving up some of his time to chat about Johnny Kenny for 67 Hail Hail. You can get Andrew on Twitter at AndrewDempsey98, which has made me feel very old, so thanks for that. Okay, tomorrow we'll have what we think is quite an interesting video that you should like dropping on the channel. It's an interview with current Socceroo, or Australian national team player, Ryan McGowan, about his time playing under Ange Postecoglou. Loads on Ange, bits on Tom Rogic, much more as well. Here's a wee flavour of what you can expect. In terms of Ange as a person, I think people have probably seen your tweet about wanting to 2-foot a waiter after an Ange team talk. How good were his team talks?
Oh, incredible. Like,
best you've kind of had?
By far. As in, like, we used to say, even before the clip that came out, we used to just say, like, someone needs to video some of his sessions and just get it out. He could be Al Pacino on the TV or in the movies. It's just And the frustrating thing for us was he used to do it on game day. It was very much the players. So we'd have a meeting just before lunch, and he would sort of name the team and do this talk. And then typically the game's at night, so you'd have your meal, go back to your rooms, possibly have a sleep pre-match, and then go to the game. And a lot of us would be, trying to go to sleep, and your head was just buzzing from his talk, and you're thinking the game's still 6 hours kickoff.
So the full video is out tomorrow. That's Saturday. Sunday will be a live show. Me and John are going to get back together to chat about basically anything that's gone on between now and then. I'm sure there'll be loads to get our teeth into. We will communicate an exact time to you nearer the time on social media. So keep an eye. It'll certainly be in the evening. I'm going to say goodbye for now, but before that, just a big thanks to all you wonderful subscribers, especially the ones that have done it recently. We're now nearer to 24,000 subs than 23,000, and we only hit 23,000, I think, on like the 30th of December, so it's just going mad at the moment. We are 67 Hail Hail. We're a bunch of legends, but so are you. Maybe if you're watching this and you've just remembered or realised, I'm not subscribed to that weird looking guy, then I'll give you a chance to change that right now. It would be massively appreciated by us all. And yeah, we'll chat to you soon.